Hello Internet, and welcome back to another Sketchbook Saturday. Except it's not in a sketchbook. Look at this. I have gotten so fancy. I'm in digital and I actually have better editing. I still have a horrible audio though, but that's okay. If you can't tell, I am fairly excited about this video because it's a bit more advanced than just doodling. Today I decided to challenge myself. I decided to characterize the Enneagram, or rather the 9 points of it. What is the Enneagram, you ask? Glad you did, because I will tell you. The Enneagram is a personality analysis system. Goodness gracious, that's a tongue tire. Which consists of 9 points, hence the prefix Ennea, which means 9. These 9 points represents various personality types. These are not that important, but I figured I had to say what it is since it is a major part of the Enneagram. These lines are arrows, and they indicate what the personality is most like when it's either being healthy or unhealthy. It's called integration and disintegration. You're going to notice that a while. I'm probably going to start a lot more. You can do some more studying on your own, but for now I want to get into the meat of the video. Your discretion is advised. Some people trust these personality tests as if they were words spoken by Abraham Lincoln himself. But listen, these personality categorization systems, such as the Enneagram or MBTI, have no scientific backing. So don't take these as hardcore facts or formulas, but rather as a BuzzFeed quiz. The reason why these actually have no backing, even by psychology, is because these tests are subjective. People want to use these funny little systems as a way to dissect people's personalities, but that's like trying to cut into water. People's personalities are so fluid and ever-changing that they can be relatable, but they can't necessarily be categorized into a number. So anyways, that's all I have to say on the Enneagram. Whoa. Sorry. See, on the Enneagram itself, onto the art. So obviously the first type we are covering is number 1, the reformer. Now, I have tried to do this challenge before, but that was when I first got my tablet. During this time, I really did not like my own artwork, and it took so long for me to design this character, just due to the fact that I was using a new medium. So in the beginning, you can kind of tell that I was trying to integrate the original design into my new art style. And it looked good, but as I started to study more on the Enneagram types, this character drastically began to change. At first, I was trying to draw basically the personification of judgment, because this type is highly critical of both others and themselves, and they are rigid on morally correct rules. Now, I want you to notice that term, morally correct, because this type doesn't necessarily require a real rule, but a rule of their own moral compass. So like, if a real rule is wrong, they will more than likely do what is right in their own mind. So that was what I was focusing on in the first design, but if you research a bit more, it's not about judgment. This criticism is basically the first step to fix what is wrong in their environment, or rather what could be better done to increase the quality of life or the quality of a project. So that's when there was a turning point in this design. As rigid as these people seem to be, their main motive is to fix. So that's when I drew this type of mechanic character. This is somebody who spends days on critically examining their own work, just to make sure that it is not only functioning, but better. I still held that criticism in the design by giving this character a red double monocle to examine her machine. I also kept the color palette to black and white, just to adhere to the idea of judgment. And also I gave her a massive bun to call back to their strict tendencies and to represent the number 1. Another thing that you should know about the type 1 is that they are not exactly as pristine as they seem, because under their cool exterior there is a messy pool of emotions that rile up with anger at other people's criticism. This is all due to their own self-criticism, and it also taps into one of their greatest fears, to be bad. The 1 desires to always be good, and mistakes or flaws are just unacceptable, even though they are part of being human. The best way to describe a 1 is also by giving it a character to relate to. Batman would be a great example. Apparently there's this thing that's called a triad, which heavily plays into how different personality types make decisions or perceive reality. Apparently there's 3 triads, and I'm going to focus on the center's triad, kind of the same way I'm ignoring the personality wings. Look, if you want to do more research, you can. I personally am not. So that's enough of the type 1. Oh wait, no, I forgot to give it the triad. It falls into the gut triad, which basically means they make decisions or perceive the world around them through their instincts. You know, their gut instinct. Alright, so on to type 2, which is called the helper. Now, type 2s are a little tricky because these people sound like angels. But as you all know, we are just human. They get their name helper because, well, they help. And this can come from an area of pure kindness. But it can come also as a trade, even though that may not be at the forefront of their mind. So immediately for this character, due to the willingness of the 2 to help. I made this character as a nurse with a bow that is shaped like angel wings. And if you notice, she is holding up her own halo. And there is a reason for this. You see, the helper's constant companion is pride. Now, they may not be the puffed up Gastons that you picture. It may be a genuinely nice person who is offering to help. The way this trait works is that if they help you, they will adhere or even rise above the status quo. And in doing so, they will earn societal approval. And that is the biggest prize for them to earn. It's approval and it's affection. They want to be loved, and the way they can earn love in their minds is to help those in need. To make sure this character has a slight edge, I gave her heterochromia to 1, tie in the bright red pops of her medical symbol. 2 is to show a bit of her shrewdness. Now, the thing is that it's not always a trade. This is also a way that a type 2 shows affection. It's by fulfilling the needs of others. Basically, if you make a friend with a type 2, you might have struck gold, because the type 2 will go to the ends of the earth for the people they love, even if it's at their own detriment. Think of the character Samwise Gamgee for the type 2. That is it for the type 2, and their triad falls in heart. Basically, they will see and react to life through how they feel. And moving on from type 2, we are going to look at the high achiever. The technical term for this is actually successor, but for some reason I can't say successor within a sentence, or rather a sentence in that I'm trying to explain. So I'm just going to call this a high achiever. So the high achiever is kind of self-explanatory. It's a person who is a high achiever. But this person typically feels like they are more valued by what they do rather than by who they are. The thing this person desires most is social approval. They will prove themselves to look good for a crowd. It doesn't matter which type of crowd, because this personality has another name, the chameleon. They can manage to smooth themselves out for any social occasion, and this just makes them look good. Due to this, they are both the center of attention and the center of envy. If you look at this character, I decided to give her a more athletic appearance. I don't know if it's just me, but it seems like a lot of times success was attributed to athleticism, especially during childhood and high school. That's just what my mind connects to high achiever. It's a sporty individual with high academics. Even if they don't have high academics or highly athletic, they would probably be fairly popular due to their reputation and their social savvy. In short, where success is perceived, they will succeed. I decided to draw her biting a medal, and if you count, you will notice that I gave her 3 medals to represent the number 3. And each of them are first place, and that gold color can be seen throughout her design, from her pants to her shoes to her eyes. All this is to represent a winner. I also gave her pointed teeth because I would assume if somebody desires victory, which they do, they may be a little more aggressive in that field. Within this desire for approval, it may sound like they can become a bit simpering, but that's not the truth. Once a 3 becomes self-sufficient, regardless of what a crowd thinks, they can become great leaders, because unlike a more aggressive leader type, they don't just consider the goal, they consider the people. And the majority of people are naturally drawn to the charming ways of the 3. Trying to figure out characters that falls into the category of a 3 is a bit difficult, because they are either mean or dislikable characters that are typed as 3, such as Regina George or Hans from Frozen. I think this is because they are more image-oriented and can sometimes be a bit more cutthroaty, if that makes sense. But I eventually found a good enough character example. Not from a movie that I watched, but this character is at least regarded positively, is Tiana. Finally, for the triad, this type falls into a really weird area because it's called being impinged, and it falls into the heart triad. So as far as I understand what it means to be impinged, it basically means that no matter which wing this particular personality type has, it will not leave that triad. So that's why I thought it was. But as I researched a little bit more, because I had to, take another look, every explanation was kind of confusing. But every single thing that I discovered, it was a little different. So, I tried to explain it as best as I could. That's what I'm guessing that it means. But honestly, if you want to learn more or understand more on your own, you can do so. But just remember, this is faux science. Some people take it to the degree that they will try to figure out people's childhood and why they function the way they do, or like what they have for breakfast just judging by their personality type. The best way to get to know a person is by talking to them and asking directly why they eat eggs with grape jelly in the morning. Anyways, that's all for today. As you can see, these are only 3 personality types. Since there was so much information, I had to split into 3 parts. So part 2 and 3 are still on the way. Anyways, thank you for watching and farewell.